So, good morning and welcome back to a slightly different episode of Jack Out the Back. So we have just gotten back from a family holiday. It is now the middle of the second week of the school holidays and I need to do some preparation for the start of term 3 next week. So while I was away, our mail delivery came. Now we get mail delivered once a week on Fridays and it happens to come straight to our front door. I often say that we have some of the best Australia Post service in the country, considering our mail comes straight to the front door on Fridays, posts, parcels, letters, the lot with chips. So while I was away, the school boxes were delivered, which I have here next to me. So we have here 3 boxes of school stuff. So I have 2 here for Verity, who's in pre-primary, and I have 1 box here for Isabel, who is in kindergarten. So my job is to unbox these. There will be a checklist in them, which I need to go through because, of course, it takes a long time for us to get resources and people are only human. So while the teachers do work very hard to put these dispatches together, there can be things missed. So the checklist is designed that the teacher checks it at school as they're packing, and then when it gets here to me, I check it as well, just to make sure that we have everything we need, which gives us time to hopefully fill in any missing items if there's stuff that has unfortunately been missed. So I'm going to do a bit of an unpacking of this school dispatch now, and I'll go through a few things with you while I'm at it. Enjoy. Interesting. A couple of things I have found in the dispatch, being that last term was the end of semester 1, I have the semester reports, which I have not yet seen, which came with the dispatches, so that'll be a good read. And then I have found my checklist. So the checklist goes through each program. For example, literacy program, maths program, fine motor program, gross motor program, and project work, which is the big programs that the girls do. And it goes through week by week, so we can see up here, it's got the letters and sounds, which is part of their literacy, that's phonics, and it goes through week 1, and these are the items that you need in week 1, and it has the ticks for the teacher having checked it, and then there's a spot for me to check. And then the other useful part of it is it also has resources from home that is suggested that I will need. So it gives me some time to also make sure that I have those things. For example, if you need oranges, but your kids don't eat oranges, so they're not something that you have on hand, it gives you time to get oranges if you need them for a particular activity. So this is out of box 1 of the 2-box dispatch for Verity, so I'll just get into box number 2. So this box appears to be full of more of just resources, whereas the other box was full of the work programs, which I'll break down in a little bit for you. So this has resources. So for example, I've got a toy cash register, what I'm assuming is a T-ball bat for our T-ball program for term 3 for gross motor or physical education. We've got, boxes of resources and games and stuff, which I assume we're going to be using as part of our programs. And then these are A3 worksheets or paper that she will need throughout the term to do some of her activities. And we've got a bunch of books in there. So the other part of the dispatch that we have are these bags. Now these bags are broken down into 2-week work blocks, which is really handy. So in these bags are the workbooks, which go through what you're doing day by day and week by week. So this is obviously, as you saw, physical education, which is T-ball, hence the T-ball bat that I had. And then this goes through, you know, this is her reading and writing for weeks 1 and 2 of term 3. And then it goes through, you know, there's some worksheets in here. And then there's a good chunk of, you know, instructional pages on, you know, this is what you're doing today. This is the aim of what you're doing today, the activity we would like you to do, and also what they would like us, or what the teacher would like us to upload to the app called Seesaw. Many people may have already come across the app called Seesaw. It's used in a lot of mainstream schools. You might be the parent on Seesaw and you get to see what the teacher and the student uploads for you so that you can see, and then you have a more interactive experience with your child's education on a day-to-day basis. For me, I upload as the student for Seesaw for the teacher to be able to see, essentially acting as Verity. So if it says, you know, in here, please take a video of Verity playing T-ball today, I take a video of her playing T-ball and then we upload it, and then her teacher can see the T-ball activity happening. It gives the teacher that visual insight into the learning that they don't get on a day-to-day basis because they're of course not here with us. So we use Seesaw a lot. We'll use it multiple times a day to take pictures of work or take videos of work being done, especially stuff when it comes to motor activities or sport activities or even language activities. And that is a part of how the teachers get to see the learning that is happening. They get the workbooks which come back and the samples of work, and then they get all of these visual videos and pictures that come in, which is far more instant because it's not relying on the mail system. So they get that instant feedback. And then the great thing too is the kids get the instant feedback from the teachers, because the teachers will respond and interact with the students through Seesaw, giving them that was a really good try, I love how well you did there, that was fantastic, next time you could try working on this. And it's very instant and it's very gratifying for the kids having that feedback in a more rapid way through the mail service. So it's really good. It's a very, very handy app that we use and a very handy tool. So I'm going to get cracking on going through this checklist for the pre-primary work. So I've got to go through, check all of my little bags, because this bag has so it doesn't only have the workbooks in it, it's got a bunch of resources, which thankfully it does make it much easier. They're broken down into, you know, this is the project stuff that they'll need for the first weeks, and then this is the reading stuff, so that if you've got, you know, different, because it's full of, you know, the 5 different subjects worth of stuff. So because it's got all 5 subjects worth of stuff in it, they put it in the bags, you know, breaking it up, it makes it easier to find. So you're not rifling through lots of different stuff. You're just looking for, right, the bag that says reading, and that's where your reading stuff is. But it still pays to double check it in case, you know, you need 3 paper plates and there's only 2. It gives you time to find them. So it's always worth doing. Well, at least I find it is, because I don't like to not be prepared when it comes into Monday morning and getting into the classroom. I like to have myself organised and know what we're doing and that we've got everything that we need. So I'm going to get cracking, and I'll point out any interesting things as I come across them. Thanks. So the other reason I like to get this unboxing of the dispatch done nice and early and get this checklist done is understanding what is being referred to in the checklist. So you get your checklist, for example, and the first thing on the checklist says mnemonic cards, which is fine. Figure that out, but you've got to find the mnemonic cards. So are the mnemonic cards in your bag, or are the mnemonic cards, for example, in a resource set like this? Or could your mnemonic cards be in your A3 slip of resources and worksheets and etc, etc. So it becomes a process of elimination, tracking down where the things are and then putting them together. The other thing that I have found before too is things can be called something slightly different. For example, this little bag of cards here, the name on the checklist here might not necessarily be the name that is, for example, written on the base of the little cards down here. So it becomes, again, a process of elimination. Going, okay, well, I know what all of these things are because that's quite clear, or they are labelled with the same name that is on the checklist, and then you're eliminating to work down what exactly it is that the list is referring to with what you've got left. And it just certainly makes it a much smoother when you come into the classroom to get the work done on a school day if everything that you need, you've already figured out what it is and what it's called and what is being referred to. Because sometimes I even have to go back to, hold with me 1 second. Sometimes I even have to refer back to the workbook and looking through the workbook for the item that has been mentioned and hoping that there's a picture of it, or reading what the instructions are and then deducing from what I've got left that I haven't already figured out what it is that it is referring to. And then that helps me to figure out what everything is, because of course not everyone's minds work the same. So for a teacher who is putting the dispatch together, they know exactly what they're referring to because they've written the work plan, they've written the workbook, they've put the stuff together, they've written the name down for it that makes sense to them and is logical for them, and then I have to decipher that and figure it out, especially because over the years you get different teachers who call things, different programs call the same thing different things. So it's just makes my life easier if I spend this time in the holidays doing it now, and when I step into the classroom and then when I step into the classroom on a school day, I'm not scrambling trying to find something or searching for something and wasting a whole lot of time, and then the kids are losing momentum in their learning and with what they're doing. So it just makes my life that little bit easier if I spend the time and do it now. So back to figuring out what these last few things are for me. So a really good example. These little books were in a little bag without a label on them, and my checklist was asking for pocket rocket books 1 to 5. And looking at this, I wouldn't have picked that as being called a pocket rocket book. It has no name on it that says pocket rocket, wasn't labelled on the bag or any such things. So I then had to refer to the workbook and see where it referred to pocket rocket book. And it did say Pocket Rocket Book Pat, which is that book right there, Pat. So that helped me to do that. So now I can go ahead and label that and know what now it's referring to when it continues to mention it throughout the rest of the checklist, which is super helpful. That is the pre-primary dispatch checklist completed, with only one thing that took me a while to understand and decode, and only 2 very small items missing. So that's a pretty good result as far as I'm concerned. And now what I just need to do, just go through this list of... Shh, I'm just trying to talk. Just listen, please. Just shh. Your knee's not stuck. Pull it out and be quiet. Shh. Now just quiet. So now I just go through this list of items of stuff that we... So So now I just need to go through this list of items of stuff that we need to have from home. Most of it's pretty standard stuff, you know, stuff that the girls will have in their pencil cases, glue sticks, pencils, scissors, that sort of stuff. It includes things like some small toys if they need a small figurine, for example, that they're building a shelter for. And then a lot of paints and stuff, which is stuff that I tend to always have on hand anyway. You know, you buy a bulk stack of paints at the start of the year and work your way through it. Play-Doh, again, usual stuff that we can just make at home that we have. It's not stuff that the school needs to send out to us. So it's just going through that, making sure you have each thing prepared for each week. But again, most of it you have on hand anyway. That is one dispatch check done. And yeah, now I've got to move dispatch 1 over to that side and keep that tidy while I get started on dispatch number 2. And then I put the stuff away on its respective shelves and just get out the stuff for the first week of school. So I will check back in with you when I'm ready to get organised for just the week's worth of stuff. So that is checklist 2 completed for the kindergarten program, which was much, much faster than the pre-primary one. Luck of the draw, sometimes there's way more kindergarten stuff than there is pre-primary. This time it was the other way around. Once again, the stuff I've still got left to check is the resources from home, but again, it is pretty straightforward. It's, well, I can see here, it's staplers, pencils, texters, bowls, all sorts of things that you have just around the house that are generally pretty easy to track down pretty quickly. The teachers do tend to give me a bit of a heads up if there's stuff that will need advanced warning for, something unique, for example, like shaving cream, if you don't have someone around that uses shaving cream. So yeah, it's pretty handy. A music radio is going to be an interesting one actually, because I don't really know many people who actually use music radios anymore. Speakers, yes, but an actual music radio will be quite interesting. So I think that's just going to have to be looking pictures up online and not actually physically touching one, because I don't even know of anyone who has one anymore. I mean, you got them in your car, but again, most of them are, I guess, smart surfaces now. They're not really old school music radios, which is what this particular project's about. It's all about old digital tech versus new digital tech. So, you know, maybe people still need to have music radios floating around. I've got communication radios, but the music radio is an interesting one. Right, so now I need to sort out my in trays or day trays, which is, I mean, this is pretty I didn't really do much from the end of last term. I just packed up and shipped off when we went on our holiday, so I still actually have to clean up from the end of last term, because this still has end of last term schoolwork in it and some odds and sods and bits and pieces. But these are my trays that I use. This one's labelled Thursday, so all of our Thursday school stuff goes in here. You get the gist. So then we're just rifling through one tray per day, and at the end of the week I reset it all over again. So we go Monday to Friday and I empty out the trays, and then on Friday afternoon I get all of the week's stuff that needs to be posted off and get it ready and organised to be posted, and then I set up for the next week so that I don't have to really step in here much over the weekend. Yeah, and that's the way that I do that. So now I'm going to get stuck into actually tidying up in here, because while I have done that, it's all still just dumped. So I'm going to put the bags of schoolwork away on the shelves that they belong on until I need those bags, and yeah, get stuck into sorting out week 1 and week 2's worth of stuff. Thanks. Okay, so that's the 2 desks set up with the equipment ready to start on Tuesday. Yep, Tuesday morning. Monday is a staff development day, as I have learnt as I have read these workbooks. So we are ready to go for Tuesday morning. This has been the better part of a day for me. It is now 3 o'clock, and I would, to be fair, I didn't exactly check the time, but I would estimate I started this at about 8:45, 9 o'clock this morning. So this has taken me a solid amount of time today. So yeah, it's a big job, but for me it's a worthwhile job because it gets my head straight and ready and in the zone for starting school the most organised way possible. So any more questions you have about some of the ways that we do school, I'll answer as best as I can. We, of course, being with a department school and with other people's kids, we have to be very careful / can't involve some of that sort of stuff. But anything personally with my kids and with their education and what I can show you, we're more than happy to answer a few questions and let you know what we can. So yeah, if you have any questions, shoot them our way, and hopefully this has helped give you a bit of an insight into the vast amount of work that goes into educating our kids out here in the bush. Cheers.